Student Programming Events, How to Travel and Entertainment Reconciliation. For these types of reports, it can be for student organization gatherings or student events. Any gatherings or meetings held by student orgs are considered student events since they're held by students for students. Please classify their expense types as you would any other type of student event. For student events, any event where the majority of the attendees are students who are not employed by the university and the focus is on enhancing the university experience. There are also business purpose guidelines at this link below. What we'll cover today is navigating Concur and T&E policies, documentation, what to collect and why it matters, reconciliation, a deep dive into Concur details for student events, and takeaways and tips. To log into Concur, you can review this video on YouTube or click the link below. Allowed student programming purchases. Food and refreshments, supplies for student programming, employee meeting and morale events, flowers and plants as programming activity supplies or decor for programming events, room and space rentals, deposits and payments related to hospitality contracts, prizes, raffles, and non-plaque awards, tickets for events. Please note, purchases should not be made on any further in advance than 30 days from event date due to 30-day reconciliation rule. Prohibited student programming purchases. Gift cards, travel expenses for people other than the cardholder. Catering, UC-owned food vendors like UCSD Catering, Pete's, Perks, etc. Tickets for community events and fundraisers. Coffee for regular office consumption for staff, faculty, student staff, and volunteers. Documentation. Proper documentation keeps UCSD compliant with UC policy and federal regulations. Here's why it's non-negotiable. Audit readiness. Every T&E card charge must be supported by an itemized receipt. Clear business purpose. Documentation must show who, what, when, where, and why. Timely submission. Receipts must be reconciled within 30 days of the transaction. All T&E card charges must be reconciled within 30 days of the transaction date. Any expenses not reconciled by the 60-day mark will be taxed by IRS from payroll. For pro staff, receipts are only required for T&E purchases greater than $75. For reimbursement requests, prizes, non-food travel expenses, or RAHA purchases, receipts are required regardless of dollar amount. Reconciliation. So an overview of the steps are logging in and finding the charge, attaching the receipt, entering purpose in chart string, and submitting to approver. So first, you will either be in your own account reconciling or you'll be reconciling as a delegate for another user. And so you'll want to click on your icon, click delegate if needed, and search for their name or ID. Next, you will want to create your expense report after navigating to manage expenses. So you'll click the card on the left and then click on create expense report. Next, you want to make sure you select event expenses for the report type and follow the naming convention noted with your initials TEC, STDT, because this is for student programming. The month, fiscal year, and college acronym. Please note that the report month is for all expenses you're going to submit for the current month, not for the month the expenses are actually from. Then you'll want to enter the event start date and end date. So these are the first of the month indicated in the report name, and the end date is the last day of the month indicated in the report name. For event type, please select student events. Next, you'll want to enter a detailed business purpose as well as a financial unit. Over here, you select the one that applies to you. In rare cases, your department may be approved to use funding outside of your usual unit, so make sure to provide the appropriate documentation. Next, you'll hit Create Report. And from here, you'll go to Add Expense and select from available expenses. You'll want to make sure you are only adding T&E expenses to your event reports, as P-card expenses will result in red alerts. Next, you'll want to choose the relevant expenses and then click Add to Report. Click anywhere on the expense line to open it up. From here, you'll select the appropriate expenditure type. For this example, we're using social event food. In other cases, you may use social event non-food. For food adjacent items like pumpkins or ice, not used for eating, those would be categorized as non-food supplies, while anything that is consumed would be considered social event food. For prizes won in opportunity drawings, like bingo or competitions, you would use student gift prize award. For giveaways, anything more than 50% of student attendees are receiving, you'd code them as social event non-food beverage supplies. In the next slide, we'll see the main expense types that you'll be using for student events. So the first one is what we typically use, so social event food. So this is for food and food supplies for consumption. For non-food, it would be student event and activity supplies or food adjacent supplies for activities. And there's an example here. Next is the Student Gift Prize Award, which is taxable. This is for any items under $75 given out in an opportunity drawing or competition as part of the student event. Additionally, you would need a list of meeting/meal attendees expense if you have under 10 attendees for your event, but we will touch on that later in this presentation. So next on your expense, you will note the type of meal in the meal location. You will also enter the comment below. Next, you will add the number of attendees. So you can click on this icon here. You can either look up in the search bar that shows up if the attendee type has already been created, or click Advanced Options to create a new attendee type. So clicking on Advanced Options gives you the choice to add by attendee type. For this example, we're using group of attendees, more than 100. You would adjust the name to what suits your student event, like college acronym STDT, events 100+. Naming convention helps save time in the naming process. Please note, 99% of the time you'll be using group of attendees. Also, attendee lists for student programs are not required if there are more than 10 attendees. After this action, you are done. You will not need to upload your list of attendees. And you'll see the Create Attendee icon here, which you can click to create your new attendee type that you created. In this example, we have Muir College student events with 100 or more people. So you also put the attendee count here. It will default to 1, so you'll want to make sure that you put the proper amount of attendees and then click Save. Next, you'll allocate expenses to the COA. This tells Concur what COA allocation should be charged for your particular expense. When you're doing this, you'll want to enter the financial unit. This should auto-populate from the report header. Only change this if you are charging a different department COA for this expense. For pro staff, Rachel Harrington will be the approver. Unless you're using a different department COA, you'll also want to include the project number, task number, and fund number. UCBO does require the fund number, as this allows approvers to quickly identify the COA allocation being used and determine if expenses are being charged to the appropriate COAs. To continue, so since Rachel is the pro staff financial unit approver, she's noted there. And then for RA and HA expense reports, Helen Lee will be the financial unit approver. Your report will go through approvals in this order. So supervisor approvals by your fiscal coordinator, then financial unit approver, and then special entertainment if applicable. Next, to note, you can split expenses between two or more chart of account allocations. And so you can toggle where the number two is between percent and amount to choose how you want to do your distribution. The first step is to add your other COAs first, and then you'll choose percent or amount, and then distribute the expense accordingly. You'll want to review that 100% of the expense has been allocated. Next, if your purchase has various expense types, like food and supplies and prizes on the same receipt in that one transaction, you will need to itemize that particular expense in your report. So you'll access this view by clicking on itemizations and then clicking on add itemization. You'll enter relevant expenditure type and dollar amount. In this specific example, we have social event food for $100. And then in the comment, you'll want to edit and make sure that only the items that are considered food are noted here. So clementines, granola bars, chocolate, etc. And then when you're done with that, your first itemization, you can click the arrow next to save itemization to add another one while saving your work at the same time. Over here, we're adding another itemization, and so you'll adjust the itemization comment as relevant. In this example, we have a prize. You'll want to make sure that you remember to include the prize distribution information along with your receipt and enter the sales tax if you're reconciling prize purchases. You'll also need to enter the prize recipient as the attendee, as they are the one benefiting from this particular portion of the transaction. And so you'll see up here, we used 536,300 student gift prize / award. And then the comment is edited to just the plushie, which is the prize, and noted to see the prize form. See this example of all itemizations completed for this particular expense. We did not cover social event non-food in the previous slides, but in brief, this would be the appropriate expense code for the plates and flushable wipes in this purchase. Your remaining dollar amount should always be zero. Otherwise, that means you need to make adjustments until the entire transaction amount is itemized. So for this particular receipt, we have the student gift prize award itemization, the non-food itemization, and the food itemization. And so for all of these, you'll want to make sure that there is a comment that is specific to that particular part of the receipt. And then if it is for food, you'll also want to include the attendee list. For student gift prize, you'll want to include the prize winner under the attendee list. And then for non-food beverage, an attendee list will not be required. Once all of your report expenses are completely allocated, you can submit the report according to deadlines. So you'll see the submit report item up here. And this is what a completed expense report will look like before submission. You'll want to check if there are any buttons or warnings or something that you might need to update before submitting. You can also see on each of your expenses within the report that you have the appropriate documentation and information necessary. So for this purchase up top, we have the group of people. For the attendees, we have the clipboard, which will show all of the allocations information, and then the pie slice diagram indicates that the expenses have been allocated. Additionally, we see the comment buttons here, noting that comments are loaded, and under receipts, we'll see a preview, and you can even preview by clicking from this space to double check that the correct receipt is attached. And then once you're done with all of that, you can go ahead and click Submit Report. Some takeaways and tips. Organize receipts. Photograph receipts immediately after an event as paper fades and gets easily lost. Submit reports monthly. Reports are due on the 25th of each month or the first business day prior for closures, holidays, and weekends. Submitting too early means you may miss reconciling expenses that should be included in the same month. Know what's prohibited. Alcohol, personal expenses, and non-business meals are not allowed. Document everything. Itemized receipt, attendee list, and business purpose equal a complete submission. Help yourself. Browse through our many resources or reach out to your fiscal contact when you are unsure. And these are some additional resources.